When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. The year was 1970. I was 15 years old when I first learned to scuba dive. Scuba certification was brand new. This was the early years for recreational scuba diving. A group of 10 15-year-old kids were given instruction at the local high school swimming pool by two men who were both military divers before becoming physical education teachers. The class was strict and very thorough. The scuba equipment of the late 1960s was primitive compared to current dive equipment. All I knew was that I loved it. After a few weeks' instruction, we were taken by boat to Catalina Island for our first ocean dives. The boat was anchored on the ocean side of the island. Stepping off the boat was kind of scary, but the world I was dropped into was indescribable and amazing. Huge fish called black sea bass swam right up to me. As I dropped down into the kelp-covered world, I noticed how dark everything became. There was light, but everything had turned gray and black, like watching a black and white television or looking at an old picture that was black and white. When we returned to the boat, we had to report on what we saw on the dive. We also had to write about it in a logbook. We recorded the depth, the time spent at that depth. This information was used to calculate when it would be safe to dive again and for how long. I asked my instructor why the colors disappeared during the dive. He explained that on the Southern California gray day, diving into water that had lots of microscopic life and a kelp cover, that the warm colors of the light spectrum are absorbed as they travel into the water. That the reason the water looked so colorful on our recently purchased color televisions was because the camera crews brought lights with them to show colors at depth. Then he handed me a small dive light and said to bring the light with me on my next dive. The next dive was so different because everything I aimed the light at was colorful and amazing. Bright red markings on fish that before looked like black markings. This underwater world was so incredibly beautiful. I would be the scuba diver for the next 50 years. After the dive, I handed the dive light back to my instructor and he handed it to another student. Here's the strange part. On my third dive, without the light, I still saw everything in color. My mind knew the colors because of the second dive with the light and filled the colors in for me. After that day, I always saw the underwater world in color. I use this story to help my teenage grandchildren. I'm 70 years old now, but believe it or not, I remember being a teenager, a young man, and a husband with small children. There's a major life lesson here that can help you when things begin to look dark or difficult in your life. What I learned is a small light can change the way you see everything. Not just scuba diving, but the way you see everything in your life can change completely depending on how you look at your life. It's important to know that what you think you see, your mind will fill in that view until you train it to see life in a different light. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.